This is just a sample of the audiobook. To get the complete audiobook, access the link posted in the first comment.
The 2018 Gallup poll revealed that over 50% of employees are unengaged at work. 13% of those are miserable. From 2016 to 17, more than 1 in 3 students across 196 U.S. college campuses reported diagnosed mental health conditions. Some campuses have reported a 30% increase in mental health problems per year. According to a 2019 World Happiness Report, negative feelings, including worry, sadness, and anger, have been rising around the world, up by 27% from 2010 to 2018. Anxiety disorders are the most common mental illness in the United States, affecting 25% of children between 13 and 18 years old. Depression is a leading cause of disability worldwide. Worldwide mental health problems could cost the global economy up to $16 trillion by 2030. These include direct costs of healthcare and medicines or other therapies, and indirect costs such as loss of productivity. We seem to prefer spending more money and effort on dealing with the results of our emotional problems rather than trying to prevent them. I have a personal interest in the bad things that happen when we deny ourselves permission to feel. Meaning, I've been there, but thanks to someone who cared, I made it out alive. We'll talk about that, too. Only a few naturally insightful among us can claim to have the skills discussed in this book without consciously pursuing them. I had to learn them. And these are skills. All personality types, loud or quiet, imaginative or practical, neurotic or happy-go-lucky, will find them accessible and even life-changing. These are clear, simple, and tested skills that can be acquired by anyone of almost any age. Recently, I was training administrators in one of the country's most challenging school districts. I was warned, they'll eat you alive. At lunch on the first day, I was standing in the buffet line next to a principal. And to make small talk, I asked him, "So what do you think about the session so far?" He looked me in the eye, then looked down at the food and said, "The desserts look pretty good." I realized at that moment what I was up against. I'm used to resistance, but his attitude hit hard. I decided at that moment that he was going to be my project. His superintendent was fully on board, but it was clear that we would succeed in this district only if principals like this guy were also believers. At the end of a couple of days of intensive training, I ran into him again. "The other day when we met, you weren't so sure this course was going to work for you," I said. "I'm curious. Now that you've spent 2 days learning about emotions and how to integrate emotion skills into your school, what do you think?" "Well, I tell you," he said, pausing to collect his thoughts, "I realize now that I didn't know what I didn't know. The language of feelings was foreign to me." That was encouraging, I thought. Then he went on, "So thank you for giving me the permission to feel." Let's begin there. Part 1. Permission to Feel. Chapter 1. Permission to Feel. How are you feeling? Given the subject of this book, it's a reasonable question. I may ask it more than once before we're through. In theory, given that it's something we're asked so often in one form or another, that should make it the easiest question ever, instead of the hardest, depending on how honest we're going to be when we answer. I'm speaking now not only as a psychologist and director of a center devoted to emotional well-being, but also as a fellow human. To be perfectly honest, I wish someone had asked me that question when I was a kid. Asked it and really, truly wanted to know the answer, and had the courage to do something about what I would have revealed. I was not a happy child. I felt scared, angry, hopeless, bullied, isolated, and I suffered. Boy, did I suffer. When I was in middle school, you only had to look at me to see that something was seriously wrong. I was a poor student in school, mostly C's and D's. My eating was so messed up that I went from severely thin to overweight. I had no real friends. My parents loved me and cared for me, I knew that. But they had their own miseries. Mom was anxious and depressed and had a drinking problem. Dad was raging, scary, and disappointed in a son who wasn't as tough as he was. But they had at least one thing in common: no clue about how to deal with feelings, neither their own nor mine. I would spend hours alone in my